95% of women in the US are nutritionally depleted. More shocking is that almost every single woman when she is pregnant takes a prenatal vitamin, and yet 95% are still nutritionally deficient.
That's so scary, honestly.
If you don't know that and you don't address that depletion before getting pregnant, the journey of going through pregnancy and breastfeeding, giving birth and momming for many years thereafter leaves women even more depleted, and that can carry through all of the stages of women's health after. The problem that we solved at Needed is we were the first brand to really go to women's health practitioners who do test these nutrient and hormone levels and gather thousands of data points around what does it take to get women into an optimal range. And then we figured out a way to design the products around that. And it's orders of magnitude different than what is in a typical women's multivitamin or in a typical prenatal vitamin.
Welcome to Women in the Nude, where we expose everything except for our bodies. We'll leave that to your imagination. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to welcome Julie Sawaya.
Nailed it.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Honestly, I'm so inspired by you.
Thanks.
We can start with the obvious, I suppose. You have a company called Needed. I'm just so thankful for people like you and Ryan, who's your co-founder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're just in general a badass. Mm-hmm. And I'm also a founder, and I know what that journey is like and how hard that is for so many reasons. Yeah. But I think if you don't mind talking about Needed to start, just because I think that your mission, just in general, a female-founded company, but also what you stand for, what you created, all of the things are so great, and there's a lot to unpack. Yep. And I want to know about you personally, not just your company, but if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll give you a little founding story kind of journey through.
Perfect.
Yeah, so my co-founder Ryan and I really stumbled into the problem that we're solving at Needed, which is women's nutritional depletion. Yep. Through our own health journeys. So we met about 10 years ago when both of us, prior to both of us becoming mothers, but we were both in the stage of life of coming off of hormonal birth control and starting to think about, we were both married and thinking about starting our families. And at the time, at-home nutrient testing was just becoming a thing. Yep. And so for fun, we're both trained nutritionists and both have a lifelong passion for nutrition. And so really as like market research, we tested our nutrient levels, expecting to really like get an A on our homework. We were like the Uber, we're friends in real life. So we met in school, and we were like the most nerdy nutrition obsessed among our friend group, and doing all what we thought were the right things, like shopping at the farmer's market and preparing our own food. And so tested our nutrient levels basically for fun, and ended up
gold
finding,
star.
Mostly, and to like see what the user experience is like of pricking your finger and getting your results back. And we ended up finding that we were not just like a little bit depleted, but massively depleted, and just virtually every single nutrient on the panel. Across the board, we were depleted. And it was so surprising to us that we ended up starting a company to solve it. But the way that we got there was basically diving into the available clinical research. And it didn't take long to find that we were far from alone. 95% of women in the US are nutritionally depleted. Oh. And what's even more shocking is that depletion persists despite almost every single woman when she is pregnant takes a prenatal vitamin, and yet 95% of women are still nutritionally deficient.
That's so scary, honestly.
It's crazy. It's a problem that starts for most women, like it did for me and Ryan, before ever conceiving. Part of that is like, the environment that we're in. Our food isn't as nutrient dense. A lot of us have taken hormonal contraceptive, which the research shows can deplete certain nutrients, especially B vitamins and some of the minerals. And if you don't know that and you don't address that depletion before getting pregnant, the journey of going through pregnancy and breastfeeding, giving birth and momming for many years thereafter leaves women even more depleted. And that can carry through all of the stages of women's health after giving birth. So through even perimenopause and the menopause transition.
Just cortisol levels too, that is all.
Yeah. And I think
all affects each other.
What I think is like really interesting is that in a lot of ways, this problem of women's nutritional depletion is like a silent epidemic.
Yeah.
Women don't it's not like you go around to your friends and you're like, oh, I tested my nutrient levels and I'm so depleted. But we all know when you hear the word depleted, what does that mean? It's like, I'm tired. I'm wired.
Yep.
I need 3 matchas in a day.
Stressed,
or I'm
exhausted.
Stressed through the roof, or brittle skin or brittle nails, dull skin, thin hair. There's so many signs of it that we've just really normalized as part of being a woman or being a mother. And based on our nutritional background, we knew that there is power in the right nutrition.
Yeah.
And in a stage of women's health like fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum, it can change the health trajectory of a woman's life and her child's life forever if she gets the right nutrition. But the problem is the reason that despite taking prenatals, most women are depleted is because most women's vitamins are designed around bare minimums. They're designed around something called the RDA, which is basically a paradigm that came out of World War II around how do you dose nutrients in a way to avoid serious diseases in soldiers. So you can think about you've heard of the term probably of scurvy. It's like an extreme deficiency in vitamin C. That's so different from the amount of vitamin C that you need to support your immune system.
It's different than thriving.
Yeah, or pelvic floor health and skin elasticity. There's just an order of magnitude difference between bare minimum and optimal.
And all the things that we're expected to have too, skin elasticity. That's a perfect example of, we buy 30 different products to encourage that for our skincare that's filled with lots of different things.
And honestly, that's one of the very interesting things I think about the supplement category is that rightfully so, there's a decent amount of skepticism about whether supplements work. Most of them are designed around bare minimums, so they don't really make a difference. But so many of us are kind of conditioned to have a multi-step skincare routine or beauty routine. And if we could advocate for anything that needed to be put that money into your the right nutrition and by that I mean practitioner grade nutrition, nutrition that is actually dosed at a level that's going to improve your nutrient status and get you out of a depleted state.
Yeah.
And it can make such a difference.
I think one thing that really bothers me as far as, when you test your levels in general, because I've done that quite a few times. I have PCOS. So part of that is advocating for myself, trying to get other doctors to, test my levels. Yeah. And when a doctor explains it to you or when you see your results, it's crazy to me that so often you are on the brink of being low.
Yeah.
And they still classify it as normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Vitamin D is a great example where
I always have
the normal range is so far, it's 30 nanometers. I'm forgetting the exact. It's NGMOL on a lab result. But it is so far from an optimal range, and most of the practitioners that we work with at Needed are looking for your level to be not 30 but 50 is the minimum. This is where the optimal range begins. And if our labs or our practitioners are looking for something that's so much lower than that, this is why it remains a silent epidemic.
Yeah.
First of all, it's hard to even get the lab testing.
I was just
second
about
of all,
to say.
When you do get it, most medical doctors, and I come from a family of MDs. I'm the nutritional black sheep in the family who's went the nutrition route rather than the medical route. And I have a lot of respect for MDs, but most of their curriculum is not oriented around nutrition. A lot of it is oriented around physiology of disease and, treating diseases, not
versus preventing them.
Setting up, not setting you up for optimal nutrition. And the way that really at Needed, the way that we have solved the problem is by working really closely with women's health practitioners that do test women's nutrient and hormone levels regularly. In the early days of Needed, they shared in an anonymized way, they shared their practice data with us around what does it take to get women into an optimal range? Because we know the RDA, I think I mentioned the concept of RDAs being oriented around bare minimums. What's even crazier is that 83% of the studies picked as the basis for the pregnancy and breastfeeding RDAs, and this is true for women's health as well, weren't even done on women's bodies, let alone pregnant women. So they're basically a guess a guess at what women's bodies need. So, and almost, I will say, almost every single brand on the market is dosing based on RDAs, not based on the in-practice data around what women actually need to get their nutrient levels up on labs into an optimal range. And that's basically what the problem that we solved at Needed is we were the first brand to really go to women's health practitioners who do test these nutrient and hormone levels and gather thousands of data points around what does it take to get women into an optimal range. And then we figured out a way to design the products around that. And it's orders of magnitude different than what is in a typical women's multivitamin or in a typical prenatal vitamin.
Yeah. Well, I guess my first thing is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for caring about it. Thank you for taking the initiative. Thank you for putting so much work in, because, the next thing is that it's a great idea. It's an amazing mission, actually doing the work, implementing it, finding the right people, building a successful business where that is something that can grow is a totally different story. So just the fact that you have put in so much work is incredible. But those are the things that really bother me, is the fact that we don't put the work in as just in general in the health industry to even take the easy steps forward to understand women.
Yeah. I think it ultimately stems back to women's health, and women's health research has historically been underfunded and understudied. And it's awesome. Needed's not the only company that is like shouting that message from the rooftop, and it's great. We need many more companies. We need many more advocates for women's health research and for really changing the standard of care for women.
Yeah.
We at Needed really view that through a lens of doing, not just like advocating for the research, but doing the research ourselves, because we can't wait for who's going to do it. Like, there's no incentive for the legacy
study
vitamin
15
companies
years from
to
now.
do it. Yeah, and what's crazy is like the research shows it takes like on average like 17 years for something to make it from research into official recommendations from governing bodies like the CDC and ACOG. And then it takes even longer for it to make its way into consumer products.
Well, even just people to be educated on it, right?
Exactly.
So for your MDs to even implement it or trust it or do their, their own due diligence.
And that's a whole generation of women. Like our health is in, like I guess at a systems level, women's health is in such a poor state right now.
Yeah.
That we don't have the time. We don't have 17 years for the research to trickle its way into official recommendations. We really do need companies like Needed that are short-circuiting that process and doing the research ourselves to prove what is optimal.
Just even the fact that erectile dysfunction is studied more than women's health as a whole.
It's crazy.
It's hard to even fathom that.
Yeah.
Or just the fact that women die, the majority of women are dying from heart disease. And they're not even studying, why women's heart, like what makes it different, why women's signs and symptoms for heart attacks are different from men's.
Yeah. In the 70s, there was actually like basically a ban on including women in health research. Our bodies are harder to study. Cycles, the fact that our bodies cycle on a monthly basis makes it more difficult to standardize some of the research. And that, is of course very true during pregnancy. There's ethical issues with doing the gold standard, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies on pregnant women. Now that we know that some nutrients are important for fetal development, it would be so unethical to not give a woman that. But the answer can't be, let's not do any research on women. It needs to be, let's look at what is the most ethical and innovative way to do this research in a way that's still really high quality, and to ensure that it gets funded and then it sees the light of day, that people pay attention to it.
Right. And as a good example, I'll give my own. I have epilepsy and PCOS, and they are connected. And I fought for so long after getting my PCOS diagnosis to just get somebody to listen to me. I think that my seizures are connected to my hormones. I really think that they are. Nobody would listen to me, specifically male neurologists, laughing at me, quite literally laughing at me in the office because of how ludicrous that thought was. Turns out, after having my son, my hormones regulated for the first time, which was such a blessing. It's like such a low percentage of women that happens to with PCOS. I was able to finally have a regular period, and my seizures are always around either my ovulation or my menstrual or my period. And so it showed finally that what I was feeling inside was correct. And look, I understand needing to see it, but the fact that it was laughed off as not even a possibility is crazy. And we just see that so often with so many different things, especially with endometriosis. I have so many friends with endometriosis, and that is just such a devastating situation for so many women. And lifelong problems. And even when they do get a diagnosis, it's such a long road, especially depending on if they want children, if they don't, or early menopause. I mean, it's endless. It is absolutely endless. And the fact that we have to fight for somebody just to listen is so sad. And I believe strongly in Western medicine. And I think that's something too that I often get written off as somebody that doesn't believe in medicine. And that's so far from the truth. I just want both. I want both. I want Western and Eastern medicine to be listening to each other and like working towards the same goal.
I think that's really what it's going to take is like less defensiveness, more listening on all sides. And, you know, I think at Needed, like we very much believe that like where the two sides can come together really is around like proving through the research that this makes a difference, that nutrition is not an afterthought. It's not like a check the box. It's not just like an insurance policy, take any prenatal or take a women's multi, but only if you know you're depleted. Like every woman in the US should be taking a high quality multivitamin. And the way that you're going to change the tide and get people to listen to that really is through doing research in the right way, in a way that is credible enough that it's going to like move the needle with maybe more of like a skeptical MD population. And but like there's no reason that we should be on opposite, that there should be any kind of divide over whether women's health should be a priority,
whether it's worth it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, I wish that I could have told my younger self to advocate more frequently, because I feel like, I mean, I saw 17 gynecologists before one endocrinologist listened to me, but that was still spread out. You know, I fought that fight, and it's obviously a lot of people that I saw, but I still wish even then that I didn't stop, and that it was like, you know, month after month I was trying, and it felt spread out because I would get exhaused. And I would second guess myself. You know, it's like getting gaslit by somebody that's supposed to try and help you.
And that's so challenging too. Before, you know, I think women often like the amount of education that we receive on our own like cycles and our own bodies is like such a bare minimum. Most women end up learning about their bodies either through like pregnancy or through pathology, through something going not right. And it often is very much trial and error or figuring it out yourselves. And I think it's very, especially if you don't have, you know, you mentioned OBs, like average OB appointment times in the US are like 7 to 10 minutes long. It's like not a lot of time. I'm not surprised to hear that it took quite a lot of, you know, a Rolodex of seeing people to eventually figure out your way there, because there's just, and it's not that the people are flawed. At least that's our point of view at Needed. It's like the system is not set up to be able to go deep with any one patient on an issue like that doesn't have an immediately clear explanation. And you know, it's just the way that doctors are trained too. I don't think doctors set out to not help people. No, most doctors I think go to
in it for the right reasons
for that. You know, that's what it's a calling, and it's definitely not
it's not.
I'm reminded of that all the time by my sister and my brother-in-law. It's like my dad became a doctor like many decades before my sister did, and I think he was a doctor during more of the like medical heyday when doctors were like so respected, and the insurance reimbursement side of things was so different that like I think it was just an easier time to be a doctor than it is now. Most doctors go to medical school to help people. Yeah. And I really I don't personally in my own personal life know any doctors that aren't like incredibly good-hearted people who like
Absolutely.
really care, really like advocate for science and want to help people. And I think it's really like, at least in the intersection of medicine and nutrition that I spend my time in, it's really, I think the issue is that like no one has all the answers, and the best answers come from integrating care. So most, like as example, most women who go through pregnancy in the US see an OB as their primary care provider. Because the OB has so many patients to see in a day, there isn't really time, and then there isn't necessarily the like nutritional education for OBs to go really deep on something like nutrition.
Yeah.
And the issue is that women aren't then referred out to like a registered dietitian or a nutritionist to get those questions answered. Instead, they're left to like Google or ChatGPT. What should I be taking?
Right.
What's the, why should I avoid sushi in pregnancy? Or like, what should I be doing instead? And I think what we really advocate for is like bringing practitioners together. And we're really proud of the fact that like Needed is now recommended by 15,000 women's health practitioners. And it's not just one type of practitioner. It's registered dietitians, it's OBGYNs, it's midwives, it's, naturopathic doctors. It's really up and down the spectrum of women's healthcare. And that's really intentional. We really have intentionally built, designed the products around what practitioners who are trained in nutrition advocate for, that they see in their practice women need. And then we've also built the clinical rigor around what we're doing in our research pipeline to be able to build those relationships with medical doctors that, they may not be as initially open to the conversation around why you need like a radically better prenatal or a women's multivitamin.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it really is. It's the good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the first thing that you did to start the company? What was like that first initial step?
Well, I really think it was building relationships with practitioners and figuring out, I think a lot of companies design products around what's going to work at a certain price point or what's going to work in a certain form factor. Like a good example is the leading prenatal on the market. The top selling prenatals come in either like a gummy or 1 or 2 pills.
Gummies do not work.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge with gummies is that it's a combination.
Sorry if that could be controversial. I'm happy to have pushback on that.
It's an inconvenient truth, but I think the reality is like most of the cost of making a gummy is in the candy.
Right.
It's in the candy matrix and in the packaging. And you have an issue with gummies of how much nutrition you can fit into them to get them to be stable. We very much would love to launch a gummy version of our prenatal and our women's multi.
It's so much more enjoyable.
But it's definitely an R&D challenge to get everything to fit in that form factor. And when we started Needed, really the place that we started with is what is actually physiologically optimal. What does the research show? What does in practice clinical experience show that women need? Let's start there. And then let's figure out how do you get it to fit in. The first product we launched was our prenatal multi-powder. Powder is a form factor that allows you to dose optimally without the constraints of pills. So we launched that first, and then we followed it up with our capsules. We now have 3 forms of our prenatal, and we have a women's multi as well. We have more formats of both the prenatal and the women's multi coming out very soon.
Amazing.
But what we started with the premise of the reason we called ourselves Needed is because we kept coming back to this point of we want to solve for what women actually need. And we just said, we kept saying that so many times that someone was like, you guys just need to call yourselves needed because you just keep saying what's actually needed. And that's really where the category had failed women.
Yeah.
There are options on the market that cost $10 and that come in 1 pill, or they come in a gummy and they're, $12 at Target, but they are leaving women depleted. They're not actually solving the problem. So I would say that we start with what is the research and what does the in-practice clinical data show. And then we work really hard to meet consumer needs around ease of use and affordability.
Yeah. Well, you're called needed, not wanted for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I think that
Exactly.
I think that that's it. And it is just very impressive. On the business side, you started it with Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
What was your second hire or third hire, I guess?
Oh, goodness.
First hire, but you know what I mean. Third employee.
So I oversee marketing, go-to-market strategy at Needed, brand. Ryan oversees product innovation, clinical validation, supply chain. We, make a lot of the decisions about the intersection of brand and product together. On my side of the business, our first hire was head of content, because
so important, by the way.
You can't solve the problem of women's nutritional depletion without educating on how we got here and on the problem itself. A lot of, as we see it, a lot of solving the mission of fighting nutritional depletion is about educating that there is a problem, and then how do you solve it? So, educational content that's, created by women's nutritionists, women's registered dietitians, practitioners, is central to our brand strategy. So that was my first hire.
Well, just to compliment you there, not only is your page and your website beautiful to look at, but it truly is easy to understand. And that is, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, it's a category that is like inherently confusing.
Yes.
And the reality, that kind of like inconvenient truth, is that like nutrition is a bit complicated. Like I think it's easier to sell, just take this one pill. It's everything you need, for every stage of women's health. That's a very simplistic message to sell. And that is also just not true. So, I think the problem we're solving at Needed is a fun one. And it's like, it's a true challenge of how do you translate something as complex as the physiology of women's health, like through every stage, from regulating your cycle through fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause. How do you translate a concept that complex into something that is resonant with women? Like Ryan and I are totally self-aware enough to understand that, like, we are nutrition nerds. Like, we are trained nutritionists. We love this stuff.
You know how to read. You know how to.
Oh yeah, it's
obviously you know how to read. I mean, like, you know how to read.
Yeah, interpret studies and to read a supplement facts panel. And we know that not everyone, has a passion for this the way we do. And so it's really like we get lit up by the solving the problem of, like, how do you translate this science in a way that it's
digestible,
it's understandable to women. And, Ryan and I now, between the two of us, we started Needed before we ever had kids, but now we have 5 kids between the two of us. And
so crazy.
Going through the journey now ourselves, like, I have 3 kids, and I've had 4 pregnancies. I experienced a pregnancy loss between my first and second child.
I'm sorry.
And like each of those, going through those experiences just, I think, heightens the appreciation for how important it is to get this right, and how much, like, women just, they need resources. They need help, like, figuring out. And I mean that in a completely, like, in a way where I'm like, women are so badass. Like, everyone is smart enough to figure this out. But, like, you don't, like, we're all, like, so
we're all
busy.
figuring it out.
We're so
all
busy.
trying.
Yeah. And those of us who are, like, moms, and, like, if you, have another child at home and you're pregnant for a second time, like, who has the time to sit down and read a nutrition textbook? Not a lot of people. So I think it's, like, it's really, really important to us that we figure out how to educate women in a way that it doesn't feel overwhelming or shaming, like, oh, you did the wrong thing if you took a more simple, more minimalistic product before.
Well, a couple of things, again, on the business side, so many of, really all of the best products start by solving a problem. But the extra layer is a selfish product. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes such a huge difference.
Yeah,
I know that personally with Hippie Water. And as we expand, it's like, we started by solving a problem. Mm-hmm. And it happens to be a selfish problem, totally. from real life experience, which is such a good baseline and such a good foundation.
Yeah.
Because you understand it in ways that, a regular investor or like a a non-essential product, doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's also so rewarding
Yeah.
when you get traction and you see it change people's lives. And,
Absolutely.
And that is just, it makes it all worth it. It makes all of the late nights, sleepless nights, all of those things, it makes it so much, it's just so worth it. And so cool that you are going through that journey too. It's continuous. It's not just the start. It's everything in between.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you know who Karen Tang is?
I don't think I do.
So she is a gynecologist.
Here in LA?
No, she's actually in Jersey, I think is where she's based. I met her just through social media, and she was putting out a book at the time. And man, is she incredible. But what I loved about her book is the fact that she has a quiz in there. And it's essentially a guide. It's like, it's one of those things where women, girls should be reading that book in school.
Yeah.
It's so educational. The data in there is so important. The statistics are just frightening. Just the fact that most women don't even know their own anatomy.
Yeah.
That they don't learn it in school. That, it's so hard to advocate for yourself when you don't even know your own body correctly. And then what's great about her quiz is that it really is, it's everybody and everybody is different. And how do you know what you need or what to ask for or what your problem could be if you don't know how to put those pieces together?
Yeah.
And, PCOS is a great example. Women, it looks different on every woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
The symptoms, there are so many different symptoms and side effects from what you take to, what it looks like on you, what it feels like. I had, 4 or 5 different things that were consistently happening to me, but I didn't have the other 5 things that could happen to other women with PCOS. And it's wild. And so those resources are so important. And, she's an amazing gynecologist. She's done everything that she can to learn about the space, continues to learn, and she's one of those amazing doctors that you wish every doctor was like. And that's what I love to see. And it's just a constant reminder. I always like to throw her name in the ring because it's so important that we acknowledge amazing doctors like that they're not, and not all of them are, so many of them, should I say, are willing to listen.
Yeah.
And teaming up with people like that are just so lovely. And I'm glad that you are obviously database, that is your foundation, and it makes such a difference. I guess talking about social media brings me to my next question, which is our feeds, at least mine is flooded with influencers talking about health and nutrition. And there's so much misinformation out there. It's so hard to figure out what is real and what isn't. And I see so many doctors trying to combat that. And nutritionalists obviously trying to combat that and kind of piecing together what to listen to, what not to listen to. How do you think that social media has affected the health or the wellness industry for the better and the worse?
Yeah, it's a really noisy space.
Absolutely.
And I think there is absolutely a role for people who have, a following to be a spokesperson for science. I think that there are also obviously watch outs for that around what is the right information and what is something that is credible, trustworthy that you're saying. And I think what we find at Needed is when we educate. So we do work with influencers. We actually designed and launched last year an Instagram native, basically influencer education program called Needed Academy that walks through really the science and the physiology around women's nutritional depletion in the fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum stages of women's health, and we'll be expanding that into the other stages of women's health that we address now, the years that follow after you're done having babies through perimenopause. But the reason that we designed that program really is because we have a mission of really educating the market more broadly, including influencers on the science. And we find that when our partners are really educated on the why, they're able to like speak much more credibly to the problem
clearly
and with specificity around how needed is different. But it's also the responsible thing to do. Like the last thing that women need is, information that's not credible, that's not grounded in real science and efficacy. And there's like, it's wild seeing, I'm like very inside this industry now. And so it's easy to spot a claim that a brand shouldn't be making or that an influencer shouldn't be making about a brand's products. And it is rampant out there. I think that's part of what leads to this sense of like supplements are snake oil and like nothing, it's an unregulated space. It's actually heavily regulated. Like the nutritional supplements landscape is regulated. It's regulated by the FDA. The problem is that it's regulated once products are already in the market. So the claims can exist for a time out there that are completely wrong, completely illegal, completely like not ethical.
It's like whether you get caught or not.
Whether you get caught, exactly. Ryan, my co-founder, just joined basically the industry's self-policing organization. It's called the Council for Responsible Nutrition. She just recently joined the board. And, I think that we need like a lot more than that. We need programs like Needed Academy. We need organizations like CRN. We need like, it's not to say that the system is perfect. Like there's a lot of things out there, a lot of claims out there that aren't credible and that like give the industry a bad rap. But I also think that our point of view isn't that you should immediately dismiss like the information that someone is sharing simply because they're not an expert themselves. Because I think there is a lot of validity in women's lived experiences and in how a product changed someone's life. You just need to be like clear about like in the disclosing where you paid to say that.
Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of this space goes wrong.
That, and then I think there's also, I think it's your responsibility to say whether it's your personal experience versus truth and fact.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the difference too. I never want to make a medical claim.
Yeah.
If I do, it's like, this worked for me.
Yeah.
That does not mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
That does not mean that your doctor or your nutritionist will recommend it for you. And nothing is a magic fix either, and it's a journey because women's bodies change.
Yeah.
You might figure out what works for you, and then a year, 2, 3, 10 from now, it's most likely going to change, and you're going to have to find something else that works for you. And so the personal journal almost versus a rule book or
totally.
You know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that it's also up to the creator to hold themselves
to that
accountable
bar.
and to that bar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like, it's very interesting because I think that, women, I think we saw the rise of a lot of in our category, supplement brands that were like only being promoted by influencers. And there's certainly like a large universe of those types of brands out there. I think we've been really, although we do work with influencers, almost every example of us partnering with an influencer has come from really like a genuine relationship of that person using Needed, and oftentimes hearing about Needed through their practitioner, which is like
I love that,
so rewarding. Because I think from early days we have felt strongly that like women's health practitioners, and this, you and I were chatting before we started recording, but Needed launched in 2020, like during the COVID years when we were all
crazy.
Not out and about in the world in the way that we are now. And one of the like ways that we launched Needed was really through practitioner sharing about Needed. And a lot of the practitioners that we work with really like educate in a big way on social media. They're, on Substack, they have Instagram pages, sometimes they're on TikTok, and their practice isn't just a one-to-one patient relationship.
Yeah.
They really see their role as like educating, being like online educators. And And like, it's really rewarding that like Needed is so trusted in that community of really credible educators. And then we're thoughtful about when we do partner with women who aren't practitioners, like just making sure that it's speaking to like a personal experience with the product, or steering clear of giving medical advice for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What do you see in, because we have bad actors in our space. What is the most common denominator, I guess? Is it an ingredient? Is it a filler? Is it a claim? Like, what do you see that makes you cringe the most?
Yeah, honestly, I would say that like, I think the category norm is like clean, like.
Yeah.
And clean is very important. I think everyone's definition of clean differs, but, Needed is like clean label, project verified. We like third-party test both our raw ingredients and our finished products. Like clean is very important to Needed. But our point of view is like clean is now table stakes. Yeah. Every single product should be third-party tested. It's actually the law to third-party test your products. Yeah. And brands promote it as if it's like a reason to trust them over another brand. And like, there are definitely companies that aren't following the law, but the way we look at it, that's table stakes. Yeah. Every product should be third-party tested. Every product should be sourcing clean ingredients. What we need to change the conversation to is like, clean is not enough. Like, what we really need to be looking for is nutrient density and clean. And so many brands just like focus on
efficacy.
Yeah, and like not all water is clean, but like water can be clean. There's nothing in it though. Right. It's easy to be clean if there's almost nothing in your product. It's much more meaningful to be clean when you actually have real nutrient density.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So I wouldn't say clean is out. It's just that like it's clean
overused
with an asterisk.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
there's
always...
It's not enough on its own.
Yeah, and there's just so many buzzwords in that space. And it feels like a black hole. I mean, I can relate when I was pregnant during 2020, feeling helpless in so many ways. And of course, you just want to do the right thing. Yeah. And it was my first time. I mean, we're one and done, but that was, first baby during a pandemic. Yeah. I'm a very social person in so many ways, feeling like I'm, you're scared, you're trying to be reasonable, but you're like locked in your own space. And I had pelvic dysfunction. So just in general, walking was very painful. My relaxin.
Do you happen to know Dr. Berlin here in LA? Did you ever come across him? He's like a amazing perinatal chiropractor.
Oh, amazing.
He's on this side of town. He's incredible, but he serves women's health beyond just perinatal, but he's like I think that's like a good example of like so many women would benefit from like body work during pregnancy, but it's one of those things that you're afraid to do, like that you're told to avoid.
Yeah, I was told that I had it. I was in excruciating pain, and it was like, oh, okay, well, you have pelvic dysfunction.
Yeah, so like bed rest, there was
no like plan. Yeah, it was just okay. You have this, and bounce on your ball. Yeah, and that was basically it. But for someone who had PCOS, what was so hard about that was that I couldn't really move. Yeah, and it's important for me and my condition too, because it's like. It's not just mental. It's not just basic physical. It's like it was a time where I was up against my body always being up against me. Yeah. And so movement was important, and not being able to do that felt depressing on so many levels.
Yeah, totally.
But for those who don't know what that is, my relaxin released too early. And that hormone is supposed to make things a little loosey-goosey so that when you are in labor, your muscles are stretching in the right way to make labor better and easier. So when that happens at, 3 months or 3 months along and you're constantly growing, I couldn't go upstairs. Oh my gosh, it was awful. And where we were living at the time, you had to go upstairs. Yeah. And so that was just so disheartening. But overall, I loved being pregnant, and I was lucky. I actually didn't have gestational diabetes, which is extremely common for women with PCOS. So I can't can't complain too much, but that was a huge bummer, especially in a time that felt so scary. Being kind of trapped inside sucked.
When was your son born? When in 2020?
November 6th.
Okay. My daughter is July 2020. So wild times.
Were you in LA?
I was, yeah. Okay. I was on the west side of LA.
So was your husband allowed in the room?
I actually switched my birth plan given COVID, and I ended up having a home birth. So pretty late in pregnancy, switched because of hospital restrictions. So I was planning on having as like low intervention of a birth as I could in a hospital setting. I think coming from a family of doctors, I thought that sounded right at the beginning of pregnancy to start working with an OB and deliver in a hospital, and then
an asset to have all of that knowledge at home. Yeah.
And then when hospital policy started changing, I started really rethinking, like, I can't have my doula there. My husband he's like a little queasy around medical stuff. And I wanted him there, but I was like, I don't know if you can be my only support person there.
Yeah, I get that.
So I ended up transitioning at like maybe 32 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pretty late. And ended up having a home birth with a midwife. And then I've repeated that in my 2 subsequent births. But in the second and third births, I also had, so I worked with a midwife, but I also had a backup OB.
Okay. Yeah.
And really had integrated care. And it was like, it is what I wish every woman had access to. Like, midwives are amazing, and they really trust the normal physiology of pregnancy. And I still had all the testing and all of the scans that I wanted, but there was just something so empowering about going through pregnancy from beginning to end with a midwife, having that like deep trust in women's bodies that like
your body knows what they're
built to do this.
Your body knows what it's doing.
Was really awesome. And for me, because I like, I grew up in the world of Western medicine, like I like having that safety net of also having a backup OB with my first, because of how late in pregnancy I switched. The OB I saw was like, I can't support you as a backup OB. Like,
wow.
For insurance reasons,
I
have to break up with you basically. And I didn't have a backup OB. And thankfully everything went like really wonderfully. And I was a few minutes away from the hospital if I needed to transfer. But
I was really considering that. And because I have epilepsy and it was my first baby, I was like, I'll never forgive myself if that is the reason that, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And the hospital that I gave birth in was supposed to be, the best midwife hospital. That was what they won awards for. And I felt like I was going to be in really good hands. And I was really bummed with the way that it turned out. I was planning on having a natural birth, and I should have been able to. I labored for about 26 hours with
no medication.
No medication. And look, I don't judge anybody who has a different birth plan. But what was so frustrating about my situation was that everything was going well. I wasn't progressing as fast.
You're on the clock. Yeah.
I wasn't progressing as fast as they wanted me to, but our heart rates were great. Everything was on track. It was just not on their time.
Yeah.
And I found out later that my doctor wanted her weekend.
Oh.
And the nurses themselves, honestly, like I have a lot of respect for nurses and what they do. And I just did not feel like that they respected me. It was like they resented me for wanting a natural birth.
Yeah.
And we eventually agreed to Pitocin on, the lowest dose.
Yeah.
What they didn't tell us was that they were upping it every 15 minutes. So that was undisclosed.
Oh, no.
And then I got to a point where I went into labor at around 2 a.m. and I hadn't really gotten any sleep before then. It made sense because obviously my water was going to break. My body knew. And so I hadn't slept. So I was exhausted. And at that point, I was truly exhausted after Pitocin. And so they essentially said, either you're going to have an epidural for a C-section or you're going to have an epidural so that you can push.
Delivery. Yeah.
Yeah. And I legitimately, they were mean. And I'm like a very tough person.
Yeah. But
and
26
I just got
hours into
beaten down.
labor, it's like.
Yeah, I got beaten down and I wanted a natural or a vaginal birth. So had the epidural. And I will say the esthetician was amazing.
Really?
He put it in the perfect spot. I was able to feel, I was able to, I didn't tear as much as I would have if he didn't do it well. And so I will say, thank goodness, he was really great at his job. We had our cord blood banking. That was done successfully, but there was a change in nurses right before I pushed, and they didn't get the full description. And honestly, the only other thing left in my birth plan was that I just didn't want the meconiums wiped off of him, and it was the first thing that they did.
Oh, no.
And it was just like that simple request.
Yeah. That's so frustrating. It's like.
It's, it is what it is. He's healthy. That's,
Yeah.
That's all that matters, but it sucks.
It does suck. And it's like, that's such a transformational experience, and to have it not go.
And I didn't need it to be perfect.
Yeah.
You want the baby healthy. You want, all of those things is what you want. But it's like it should be the mom's show. And I think that's as long as everything's okay, right?
Exactly. As long as everything is okay. There's like a container that the midwives that I know and love through both my own experiences and through our work at Needed really they use this analogy of they're holding this container of safety surrounding the birth. They are trained in infant resuscitation, in emergency situations, in postpartum hemorrhage. They have the skills and the tools to intervene when necessary. But there is just this level of deep trust in, if it's progressing slowly, but all the vitals are normal, that's the way it's supposed to progress.
Right.
That I have nothing to compare it to because I didn't end up having any deliveries in the hospital. And my sister, on the other hand, has had 3 wonderful hospital births where she had an epidural and Pitocin, and they went basically as well as a hospital birth with interventions can go. And there's beautiful aspects of both experiences.
Totally.
I think what's just disheartening is when you feel like you're not listened to.
That's the thing, is that it's just the choice.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
yeah, exactly. And in both cases, for me and my sister, we both had agents. We both chose the births we had.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it, when you look back, being okay, my choices were honored. And
I think if I
your
think about,
experience isn't atypical, but it's it just doesn't have to be this way.
Well, right. And so if I think about my friends, the majority of them have had epidurals and Pitocin, and have had, for the most part, really safe births. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's, it's choice. It's being listened to. And I guess maybe even my own mistake at the beginning, getting into the hospital, I was very calm. I was very chill, actually. But it was about, I said, this is what I want.
Yeah.
There are really 3 requests, ultimately. And I will, of course, do whatever it takes to have a healthy baby. So if something goes wrong, I will be flexible. This is just what I want to stick to, the best of my ability. And I think that saying that initial part of I will be flexible if something is wrong, I feel like they almost took advantage of that.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, regardless of how it happens. It's an incredible thing that we do.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing that our bodies do. And to have a company like yours that, is helping women with multiple things, but with that time of their life.
Yeah.
Is something that you should be incredibly proud of. And I feel like you are, but I just want to say it as well.
Thank you.
It's something that is, invaluable. And
I think what really touches me is hearing, we've been really fortunate to be able to be involved in over 100,000 women's pregnancy journeys. It's really meaningful. And it's, I think it is such a tender time. It's such a, what I didn't appreciate before having a baby is that, I thought of pregnancy as a marathon, and you give birth and you reach the finish line. And then you realize you give birth and you are on day 0 of the rest of your life, of now taking care of and parenting this child and shifting your identity as a woman, as a mother.
Yeah.
it is like, it's such a profound shift. And I like really wish every woman had access to, you know, support, like emotional, obviously the like medical guidance going through pregnancy as well, but like also like really the emotional support and the nutritional tools to reach the, what I used to think of as the finish line, feeling well enough to like then take care of that baby, to go through the sleepless nights, to, you know,
sleep deprivation is a punishment for a reason.
Yeah, totally. Oh, and I don't know if you had the similar experience, but every pregnancy, in the end of pregnancy, I have such bad insomnia, and it's like, it's your body preparing you for the sleep deprivation postpartum.
Yeah.
But I wish that we like started planning for pregnancy years before we were ready to start conceiving, because nutritional like status, like being replete in nutrients, not being depleted.
It's not overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And if you start when you're pregnant, I was really nauseous in the first trimester in all of my pregnancies.
I was lucky to not.
That's great. And some people, you're like my co-founder, Ryan, she's like never been nauseous, which is such a blessing.
I've been nauseous later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But not early.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, it's a struggle to just get through the first trimester and to like eat food and to take anything prenatal wise. That's not the time, at least for me. It's not the time to be building my nutrient stores. It's the time where I'm drawing from the nutrient stores I built up. Yeah. You know, ideally a year or more before trying to conceive. And it's really all so that you reach that finish line. Yeah. And which is really the starting line.
Well, I mean, this is not a new saying, but it's the fourth trimester. Yeah. And then on top of it, it's really the birth of you. Yeah. Because you are a totally different person. You will never be the same. No. Both internally and, externally. And it's just such a different, you can't explain it until you're in that position. You can prep for it. You can read things, you can talk to other women, and you can know more. Yeah. But
there's like a lived wisdom that comes
exactly.
with it.
And also because, every pregnancy and every postpartum journey is different, but there's nothing like it. Yeah. And it's an everyday miracle. It's crazy that happens.
It is so crazy.
Every day.
It's really wild. It's like and I think that's like, I'm glad that like, I think our generation is reclaiming some of the power of like, women's bodies are freaking amazing. Yeah. Like they're incredible. The fact that you can conceive and carry a baby and do it
while doing everything else.
Yeah, like many women do it more than one time in your life, and like take care of a baby, like
while taking care of other children
feed a baby
too.
Through your body. Like our bodies are so freaking amazing. And one of my favorite like stats that I learned over the last year is that like, I think most women think of their ovaries as being for reproduction, and it's like, it's how you ovulate, it's how you conceive a baby, but like your ovaries very much are important long after you're done having babies. Yeah. Regulates your hormones, regulates your, like so much of your experience of womanhood in your 40s is really about like ovarian health and, the proper functioning of your ovaries moving through perimenopause and all of that. Like our bodies are just so, yes, they're more complicated. Yes, they're more difficult to study. But they're just amazing. And I think it's like, I'm so encouraged by seeing the conversation shift in favor of like women advocating for what they deserve and for no longer being overlooked as,
I completely agree.
An inconvenience. It's not an inconvenience that we have cycles. It's like there's power in it. That's how we have humankind.
Right. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah. Embracing it. I think also just in general, the generations now are just willing to talk about things more. They're willing to be open. There's less shame around it. It's, yes, it's more important. Yes, we are studying things that we weren't studying before, but it's also it's conversation. Yep. I think so. I mean, just say the last 100 years, there's been so much shame around talking about our feelings, no matter our gender. But it's so much of what is actually strength has been seen as weakness. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that that shift
Yeah.
is happening just overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think social media is like a positive.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, but there's a lot of positives.
There's like the maybe most benevolent use of social media, like to share vulnerably, or like a media form like podcasting to really hear like true, real talk about like what people's experiences are. I just think is that's definitely one of the bright spots of the last, decade or so.
I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Probably last questions. 2 questions. One is, what's your favorite Needed product? And then my second question is, how has this journey and Needed changed you?
Oh, favorite Needed product. That's like picking a favorite kid.
Right?
It's a challenge. I would say that I take our prenatal, what we call our prenatal multi-essentials. It's 3 capsules. I take that every single day. And that's really like my foundational, where I get my energy, my like baseline defense for motherhood. I would say that the product that I find the most fun to take every day, probably the 2 products are our immune support, which is a elderberry zinc pre and postbiotic powder. That is something that I like, even if I forget, my 3-year-old asks for it by name.
That's amazing.
She's obsessed, and my 1-year-old is also obsessed with it. So it's like an awesome product for the whole family. We drink it every single day. And then I usually make a family smoothie.
Very nice.
Maybe 4 or 5 days a week. And I throw our collagen into that. So
cool.
Those are probably my like 3 standby, like every single day. Don't miss them. But yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah, I love that. I like the idea. My son loves popsicles. Can you like make the
You can make popsicle. You actually don't even need to add like juice to it. I just mix it with water and then put it in popsicle molds. It's delicious.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so how has this journey changed you?
How's it changed me? Oh, I feel like, I think it's like profoundly changed me. It's hard to say, my kind of founding experience, my experience of starting and running Needed has so coincided with my journey of becoming and being a mother that they're almost inextricably linked. It's hard to say which changed me.
It's your 4th baby.
Yeah, it is. But, actually I feel like motherhood helped me to take ego out of starting a company, or of really like building and scaling a company in such a powerful way, and like really helps me to center on like the why behind doing this, because it's time away from my family, and so it's like it needs to be really worthwhile. And so I think that's definitely, motherhood has changed me for the better as like a leader of Needed.
Yeah.
And certainly going through the experience myself of fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and now like motherhood after having babies is helps build empathy for the user journey, for the like hero's journey that all mothers are going through.
I like that. Yeah.
And then I guess I really also think that Needed helps me be, a better, like I think I've been through, this has been, not to drop a bomb on you in like the last minute, but this has been a crazy year for me personally. My family and I were in the Palisades until January.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. We lost, so for those who don't know, the Palisades fire was like, and the Eaton fire over in Altadena in LA, like has rocked a lot of those of us who live in LA over the last year. Yeah. And losing my house and our community, scattering, was a wild way to come back from maternity leave with my 3rd baby. But like the mission of Needed and what we're building and our team and just like the profound impact we're having on women's lives has been such a stabilizing force too for me this year. And again, like a grounding force, a remembrance of like, it's not things that matter. It's not like I'm doing this to like, like because I want to acquire more things, off of Needed success. I'm doing this because this is like my life's work. This is what gives my life meaning and connection. And like this feels very aligned with like the legacy I want to have in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sorry
Thank you.
about your house. I think that's, speaking to my friends who have lost their house, it's for them anyway. And on one hand, it's like, we have each other, we're safe,
Yeah.
But then there's this other side of grief where it's not just, okay, you lose your things. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Though.
It was like, it's identity. It's like place in the world. Like it was the routine and the community and all of that. And, but I also like, I mean, we're coming up almost on a year. So I have the benefit
That's
now
crazy,
of almost
actually.
like some hindsight, and we've been fortunate to, find stability over the last year.
Yeah.
I think it's like, there's a lot of beauty in it too. Like, I'm not trying to like sugarcoat it. It's just like super challenging.
Yeah.
One of the hardest
It's a
things
fresh
I've been
start,
through
though.
as in my life. But there is also like a ability to kind of, I think similar to motherhood in a lot of ways, like there's just like a clarity that comes with something like that happening, where it's like, I don't have time for the BS in life. Like,
Right.
None of that stuff matters. Like the consumerism, the keeping up with the Joneses, like I have no time for that. That's not what brings joy. It's so temporary. It's fleeting. It's not permanent. Like what is permanent? There's nothing really permanent in this world. But I think the things that are the most permanent are like, helping people and like my family. And so those are the two things that really like drive me and that give my day-to-day life like meaning. So ultimately I feel like there's been a lot of blessings of this year, even though I would not like to repeat it in 2026.
For sure. There's beauty in the chaos.
Definitely.
But I'm so sorry that you went through that.
Thank you. Character building, if nothing else.
That is an easy, light way of putting that. But yeah. Where do you want to see Needed in 5 years?
Our ambition for Needed has always been really to be the science-backed leader in women's health. And we very much, our heritage of the company is in delivering practitioner-grade products in a more accessible way. Products that the best of the best products on the market typically aren't the ones that you're hearing about, on social media, or, they're the like old school, like real scientific heritage to the brand. And we really feel like, a really meaningful, important part of Needed is how do we democratize access to that like really high quality nutrition. So we do have ambition for Needed to be available in retail stores. And, we talked about gummy as like everybody loves a gummy.
Sorry to trash it. So
everybody loves a gummy. But, I think we're very focused on how do we make this nutrition, this like radically better nutrition accessible to more women through where we exist, where we, where you can find us, how you can take us day to day, and incorporate us into your daily routine. So yeah, hopefully Needed will be a household name in 5 years, and Ryan and I will still be at the helm of this and helping to transform women's health for the better.
I have no doubt that you will be.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you wanted to come on and talk about it.
Thanks so much.
I really
this has been wonderful.
Appreciate it. And I'm always so inspired, like I said in the beginning, to meet female founders, but more importantly, female founders that just bring value. Not just as an entrepreneur, but to obviously the space, and that you are pursuing something that you really care about, that really helps women and people in general. Absolutely.
Like I'm so encouraged by how many women-founded businesses are finding their footing. It's awesome.
What would you... Okay, last thing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a female wanting to start a company?
Goodness. Well, prior to starting Needed, I became really interested in this problem of, so I came from, before starting Needed, I worked in investing and stumbled into this issue, a different problem that I'm not exactly directly solving at Needed, but indirectly of, there's so much more early stage funding going towards male founders than to women founders.
Yep.
And it's very concerning. It's like, I don't know what the stat is
like
today,
3%.
but it's like 3%, 4%. The most I think I've ever seen is like 7% of funding going to women founders. And I think a lot of that like funding is about pattern recognition. And like historically, a lot of the successful businesses were founded by men. That doesn't mean that that's actually
be the case.
A pattern that you should follow. But I think my biggest advice would be to women founders is like, figure out what you can do. Like, solving a massive problem like women's nutritional depletion is something that we found some like really well-aligned investors who believed in that mission and helped support us along the journey. And because of the like amount of research that we felt was important to do and clinical validity for Needed, it made sense for us to find investors. But I'd say if you can find a way to start your company that doesn't require outside funding, and you can build real traction with if it's a consumer-led, consumer-focused company, and you can find real traction, product market fit, and profitability without that, like that's the way to go. And then you prove them wrong. You prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And then you can always, to keep growing the company, you can always raise at a later point in time. But I think that's like there's something really powerful about controlling your own destiny too. If you can,
absolutely.
If you can, and I would say the best way to figure out product market fit is like really listen to your customer, get curious.
Yeah.
And I think what you shared earlier is like the best businesses are ones that are solving a problem and where there's like a strong founder connection to the problem.
Yeah.
It's also really important, I think we found, to like step outside of you and your needs.
I was just about to say,
and validate that with other consumers.
Exactly. Data
to make sure
is
you're
so
designing
important.
around like real consumer needs.
Making decisions off of opinion is also very dangerous. Yeah. Solving a problem.
And you want to like, it's great to listen to your own instincts for sure, but we try to marry that with like deep consumer understanding as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is such a danger of personal bias.
Yeah.
Clouding judgment. So it really is a dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. We will be linking everything wow, let me try that again. I will be linking everything below for Needed.
Right.
But if you want, what is the best way to find Needed?
We're online at thisisneeded.com and on Instagram at Needed.
Yeah, you are.
Pretty easy to find us.
I'm so glad. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I can say thank you 1,000 times, but honestly, I am just, I'm just thankful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So much. It's one of those things too, where right now in my personal journey, I am swamped.
Yeah.
And having a product like Needed where I can trust it.
Yeah.
And, I think so much of us, whether we like it or not, we're so centered around convenience.
Yeah.
And so finding something that you can trust and is also convenient and is something that, you don't have to think about. It's just a routine or a grab and go. And it's something that is actually working that doesn't often come together in one package. So I'm going to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you're welcome anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thanks for listening and watching. Bye.